I call on the authorities of the Republic of Kenya to surrender these 3 suspects to the court so their guilt or innocence of the charges against them may be determined in a trial.
ICC now demands arrest of 3 Kenyans accused of witness intimidation.
Sisi tuko na amani na Mwenyezi Mungu amesimama na taifa la Kenya.
Joshua Sang na Deputy President William Ruto wameachiliwa kutoka kule ICC. Tunashukuru sana Mungu.
Bearing the ICC burden, Uasin Gishu County Thanksgiving prayers for Ruto and Sang.
Say for Mr. Sang, we are very aggrieved because in fact it is true that the judges agreed with us that the witnesses were lying.
Problems that we have been banging on about, not because we like the sound of our own voices, but because we believe it to be true, is an absolute failure of investigation.
The defense can now rest. Ruto and Sang's team speak after termination of case. And will Jubilee now get stronger or weaker? The impact of Ruto's freedom.
Welcome to the program. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, has now confirmed that she is training her guns on 3 Kenyans accused of interference with ICC witnesses. Bensouda says her efforts to prove her case against Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang were systematically frustrated by intimidation, social isolation, and threats on witnesses to prevent them from testifying, causing her to lose 17 witnesses as part of her statement.
There was a relentless campaign to identify individuals who could serve as prosecution witnesses in this case and ensure that they would not testify. This preceded the start of our investigations in Kenya, intensified in the weeks leading up to the beginning of the trial, and continued throughout the life of the case. In addition, at public prayer rallies, local politicians and community leaders branded prosecution witnesses as liars who had all given false evidence. We obtained from the judges additional protective measures for witnesses. We obtained warrants of arrest for Mr. Walter Osapiri Barasa, Mr. Paul Gicheru, and Mr. Philip Kikoch-Bet on charges of obstructing the course of justice. Yesterday's decision noted that the accused profited from such interference with the administration of justice.
So who are these 3 Kenyans who the ICC is now targeting for tampering with witnesses contrary to Article 70 of the Rome Statute? The first one is Walter Osapiri Barasa, former journalist who is wanted for whose arrest was issued on the 2nd day of October 2013 for allegedly interfering with witnesses in the ICC case against William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. The pretrial chamber declined to substitute the arrest warrant for a summons to appear, saying that he would be detained until that interim release is granted. The other person is Philip Kipkoech-Bet, who is a casual laborer, who on September 10, 2015, the ICC pretrial chamber unsealed the arrest of warrants against Philip Kipkoech-Bet and another person. He is wanted for allegedly interfering with witnesses. He apparently was involved in a systematic criminal scheme to approach witnesses and bribe them using bribes and other inducements, causing them to either withdraw as witnesses or recant their pre-recorded statements. The other person is lawyer Paul Gicheru, whose arrest warrant was unsealed together with that one of Philip Kipkoech-Bet on September 10th, 2015, allegedly for, and again, interfering with witness. In one incident, ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda claims that Philip Kipkoech-Bet approached a witness, P397, introducing him to Gicheru, who is alleged to have paid him 5 million Kenya shillings to withdraw as an ICC witness. And in another case, ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda again says that Paul Gicheru was involved in bribing another witness, total sum of 1 million Kenya shillings in 2 installments. So those are the 3 Kenyans who are not out of the woods just yet. The ICC is training their guns on them. Now, Karim Khan and Katwa Kigen, who are the lead lawyers in the just dismissed case of Ruto and Sang, have hit out at former ICC prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo for undertaking what they now say was shoddy investigations into the 2007-2008 post-poll chaos. The two want Ocampo probed for rushing to prosecute 6 Kenyans at the ICC. But as KTN's Moremi Mwangi reports, the victim's lawyer Wilfred Nderitu has cautioned the Ruto Sang team not to celebrate just yet.
After the ICC declared a mistrial in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang, Ruto's lead counsel Karim Khan and Sang's Katwa Kigen came out trailing their guns at the man who took the Deputy President and 5 other Kenyans to The Hague, Mr. Luis Moreno Ocampo.
The investigative scrutiny in the Ocampo regime really is not fit for purpose, and that is one of the most significant reasons why the Ocampo 6 all failed.
I must say for Mr. Sang, we are very aggrieved because in fact it is true that the judges agreed with us that the witnesses were lying.
The two now claim that Ocampo undertook a shoddy job, allegedly because he landed in Kenya with a preconceived notion that the initial Ocampo 6 were guilty.
This is an earthquake. I mean, feel the tremors. The house has fallen. So I think let's call it as it is. I think the evidence of the prosecution disintegrated, and there's been no suggestion about liability or any tarnishing of anybody's name of the Ocampo 6.
If this had been a case that was devoid of recantation by witnesses, the result may very well have been different.
If you start with the people and presume that they're guilty, of course, if justice is worth its paper, it'll end in termination of proceedings.
Good morning. But the already jubilant Jubilee Brigade is lining up a series of nationwide Thanksgiving public rallies as more congratulatory messages for Ruto and Sang continue streaming in from across the political divide.
After Nakuru, Kenya, here we come. We shall suffocate and dominate all those who are pretenders to the throne.
His Excellency the Deputy President starts on a journey that will ensure him to be a president in 2022.
Mungu akuli ugali. Ugali tunakulia huku chini.
Even former Kenya National Human Rights Commission Vice Chairperson, who is the present Mombasa Senator Omar Hassan, has also welcomed the ICC verdict, arguing that was the best the judges would do in light of a shaky case of the prosecution.
On a political score, I think it's going to ensure that the next election will have less burden of who fixed who fixed where. It will be less emotive.
With Ruto and Sang finally free from the shackles of the ICC, the spotlight inescapably turns back on Moreno Ocampo and by extension the office of the prosecutor that now has to conduct proper investigations before making any plans to reopen any of the cases at the ICC. Moremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
Karim Khan and his colleague Katwa Kigen want Ocampo probe, but there's one glaring question now hanging in the minds of Kenyans. After that decision by the ICC judges, who exactly was responsible for the political meddling with the witnesses? Let's put this question to the Deputy President's ICC defense lawyer, Karim Khan, Queen's Counsel, who is joining us live on the Jeff Koinange live set. Mr. Khan, your client is the politician here. Were the judges basically pointing an accusing finger at your client or his allies for the so-called political interference?
But I think your question starts from the wrong premise. If there was a fair question, it should start with the innocence of His Excellency William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, and the findings not of counsel, but of the judges that the prosecution witnesses were liars. So the case against William Ruto has been shown to be so weak, so flawed and so deceptive that no reasonable trial chamber could convict. That's the headline and that's the story.
Right. Now, legal experts, including the victims' lawyers, believe that all Bensouda needs is fresh evidence to restart this case. Can this case be restarted successfully?
You know, so-called legal experts and victims' lawyers thought all that was needed was for 6 people to be named and there would be a conviction. They thought this was a done deal. They thought that there would be regime change in Kenya. They thought Kenyans were so weak that they would say choices have consequences. They would get a different set of leaders that were amenable to outside interests. Kenyans were not naive. They made a right decision, and the court process, fortunately, after a lot of work by the defense teams, showed by the independent review by experienced judges, read Judge Fremer's very careful model decision, that the evidence was distinguished by gaping holes, contradictions, fallacies, and lies. It was a case that we said at the outset that should never have been brought. It is a case that has collapsed after far too long, but we are nonetheless relieved, as are most Kenyans, most right-thinking people who know anything about the case and who want justice, not crucifixion, that it finally ended.
Mr. Khan, the ICC trial chamber, the verdict of the ICC trial chamber was a mistrial. Do you agree with the judges?
I agree with the judges that no reasonable trial chamber could possibly convict on the evidence. After a process that started on the 15th of December 2010, after 2.5 years of trial, after more than 30 witnesses being called and cross-examined, and being confronted by the defense, with the constant cooperation of William Ruto and my team, the judges have agreed with us that no reasonable trial chamber could convict, even to the low standard, Ben, even to the low standard at half-time. I think the real question for any journalist that wants the truth is how on earth did it get this far? How come a dead dog of a case managed to walk so far? Who dragged it here? And why was it not buried long ago? But the headline is, thank God for William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang and their families and the people of Kenya, that the judges have agreed with us that no reasonable chamber could possibly convict. They were presumed innocent 6 years ago. They remain innocent after the best efforts of the prosecution, millions of pounds spent of ICC resources, prosecutors in the country, registry, all the rest of it, all the witnesses, all the cooperation was given, and the case has been buried, rightly so. I say rest in peace.
Mr. Khan, very quickly, what is your take on the investigations carried out by former Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo?
Well, what investigations? Shoddy. He took a corrupted, flawed, inadequate, deficient, wacky report. He liaised with certain civil society groups, repackaged it in some nice ribbons, and rebranded it ICC, and thought somehow it would go through and there would be a conviction. There'd be 6 convictions. But, you know, a 6-0 defeat, you know, really even Leicester can't get that kind of result.
Thank you, sir. Karim Khan, Deputy President William Ruto's lead lawyer at the ICC, has been representing Ruto for the last 4 years or so in the ICC proceedings at The Hague. Be sure to join Jeff Koinange on Jeff Koinange Live after KTN Prime. Karim Khan will be the guest on tonight, so you do not want to miss that. Now, elsewhere in Uasin Gishu County, in the town of Eldoret, celebrations over the dismissal of the Ruto Sang ICC case spilled over for a second day at the 64 Stadium. As KTN's Timothy Otieno now reports, the event was graced by 5 governors as well as other politicians.
It's not all said and done when it comes to Martha's celebration when you arrive at the town of Eldoret in Uasin Gishu County. Barely 16 hours after a 3-judge bench at the ICC declared the Ruto Sang case a mistrial, residents of Eldoret town flocked the 64 Stadium for a prayer rally held in honor of Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Arap Sang. The day's events spearheaded by the area governor Jackson Mandago, who led 4 other governors as well as local leaders in expressing joy over the termination of the ICC cases.
Mambo ambalo Mungu ametenda kutukamilishia hiyo kesi ICC ndio msingi wa ule amani tulikuwa tunatafuta Kenya.
Haikuwa mambo ya watu wawili, ilikuwa mambo ya Kenya. Kenya was on trial. Lakini Biblia inasema mwaka wa 7 ni mwaka wa completion. Na si ajabu tumemaliza wakati mwaka wa 7.
Lazima tushukuru Mungu kwa yale maombi yote ya miaka 7. Najua hata sisi viongozi tulisumbuka kila mahali tukiomba Mungu na maombi yetu yamejibiwa, na vile Mungu anasema lazima tuombe. Hii ni ushindi kwa amani.
The leaders expressing confidence that justice has indeed prevailed in a case that has since seen all 6 initial suspects set free.
Tunasema asante kwa kanisa, tunasema asante kwa wananchi wote ambao wamejiunga mkono na kusema kwamba sisi kama Wakenya, the solutions of Kenyan problem will be solved by Kenyans alone.
Wale ambao waliathiriwa IDPs, jinsi ambavyo watakavyosaidiwa na serikali ni jambo la maana sana, na tunaomba ya kwamba wakwe waangalifu na wakwe makini sana kuona ni nini serikali inafanya juu yao.
The day's prayer rally perhaps acting as a preamble for a bigger event meant to take place at the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru County next weekend that will see the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, lead the nation in a Thanksgiving Mass. But before then, the prayers and celebration at Deputy President William Ruto's political stronghold continues. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Reactions over the ICC's decision to dismiss the case against William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang have continued to come in. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, plans to hold a celebration rally at the Afraha Stadium, that is on the 16th of April 2016. We still engage you on that particular discussion on the big question. Tonight we are asking you, do you support Uhuru Kenyatta's plans to lead a Thanksgiving rally for Ruto and Sang? SMS your yes or no response or tweet it
Welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. On a day when one of Kenya's promising banks, Chase Bank, announced that its chairman and chief executive officer had resigned, it was clear that the banking sector is gearing itself up for a major shakeup. The events at Chase Bank come barely a week after National Bank of Kenya Board of Directors suspended their CEO as well as 5 other top managers after the lender posted a 1.2 billion shilling net loss. So what really is happening in the banking sector? Here's more.
The reporting standards are clear.
Addressing a battery of journalists in a rather soft but firm tone, Central Bank Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge reiterated his resolve to clean up Kenya's financial sector. By all indications, the governor's work seems to be well cut out with increased cases of non-compliance in the lucrative banking sector.
Clearly there's an issue here.
The recent turn of events in the banking industry has caused ripples among consumers.
Now it's more, well, wait a second. Look at your balance sheet and be sure that you're actually providing correctly and then representing the state, the state of the institution correctly.
First, it was Dubai Bank being placed under receivership, then Imperial Bank followed, and now Chase Bank and National Bank are in the headlines for allegedly reporting suspicious results.
I should add that there's nothing systemic about this. So don't see it as a systemic problem. It is a case by case, bank by bank.
With Kenya having one of the highest financial inclusion rates of 85% in the region, the banking sector is estimated to be holding assets worth 3.8 trillion shillings, with deposits averaging about 2.7 trillion shillings, a clear testimony of a robust sector that if it was to collapse, millions of customers would be affected.
The shareholders, the directors, taking responsibility for this action is very important.
Cases of non-compliance to CBK guidelines, with banks not provisioning for loans and issuing loans that are suspect, are among the leading malpractices in the financial system and could bring down Kenya's banking industry.
Credit risk will remain a concern, and we need to drill down and not just look at the aggregate, but look at it institution by institution.
Away from matters compliance, CBK governor termed the move by Parliament to cap interest rates as fatal and might open up informal channels for alternative lending that could be disastrous.
And the central bank is extremely worried because if this went through, we believe that it will be extremely harmful and also ineffective.
For now, the question of how safe is your money will continue to linger in the minds of many Kenyans. Abi Agina, KTN Business. Indeed, tough questions they are being raised by CBK Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge. Moving on, work is in progress for the construction of the multi-billion Ronald Ngala Utalii College at Vipingo in Kilifi County. Upon completion, the facility is expected to boost the world-class services, including hospitality training institutions. However, the facility contractors have raised concern on the project lagging behind schedule if funds to complete it are not disbursed. KTN's Francis Ontomwa has the details.
After stalling for almost 1 year, workers on site put shoulders to the wheel to complete an assignment on a 60-acre piece of land belonging to the Ministry of Tourism, where the construction of Phase 1 is almost midway for what is expected to be the first training institution of its kind in the region. The project is expected to boost the tourism and hospitality sector at the coast, while at the same time easing pressure on the Utalii College in Nairobi and offer training as well as refresher courses to students and professionals.
It will create employment opportunities for the locals, and also it will boost the tourism industry because we'll have a 5-star hotel.
The planned facility, named after iconic independence hero Ronald Ngala and funded by taxpayers through the catering levy under the Tourism Fund, shall on completion include sporting facilities, swimming, housing facilities that include 2- and 3-bedroom flats, and mansions for the institution's staff.
We have some delayed payments, which I think the client is working on it. So there could be some delays, but we hope for the best.
Kenya's Utalii College is the lead trainer in tourism and hospitality services in East and Central Africa, with satellite colleges in Kisumu and Mombasa. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Mombasa.
Some good news there for the hospitality industry. Well, Barclays Africa has acquired First Assurance as a member of Barclays Group in a bid to strengthen its bank assurance penetration in East Africa. Barclays Kenya now controls 63.3% majority stake in First Assurance, worth 2.9 billion shillings. The addition of First Assurance to the Barclays family will see the bank diversify its revenue portfolio as it seeks to break from over-reliance on the traditional corporate and retail lending market. Clients will now be able to access services from 150 branches.
The future changes starting now. Glasses, ladies and gentlemen, because tonight everything changes for good.
We're actually making, because we believe there are huge opportunities for growth for our businesses across the continent, and Kenya is just one. The rest of East Africa and the rest of Africa represent future opportunities for us.
We are excited by the opportunity of working together with a like-minded partner, and we are indeed happy to share in the vision and mission.
Well, on that note, that's how we wrap up KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Let's link up tomorrow to bring you the latest from the business world. Coming up next is sports.
Welcome back and welcome to KTN Sport. We started some football and a match that just ended, and Gor Mahia came from two goals from Rwandese international Al Jacques to Yisenge helped Premier League champions Gor Mahia come from behind to beat Thika United 2-1 in a midweek clash at the Nyayo Stadium. This was Kogalo's second win of the season after their victory over homeboys in Mumias over the weekend. The win means that Brazilian tactician Zé Maria has kept a clean sheet in the 2 Premier League matches he has been in charge of Gor Mahia since his arrival. A number of sporting figures have been named alongside public officials and world leaders in the Panama Papers, one of the biggest data leaks ever recorded. Lionel Messi, Michel Platini, Jerome Valcke and FIFA President Gianni Infantino are some of the sports personalities mentioned in the scandal, with Infantino denying wrongdoing after the leaked documents suggested he signed off on a contract with 2 businessmen who have since been accused of bribery.
A number of sporting figures have been named alongside the public officials and world leaders in the Panama Paper leaks, one of the biggest data leaks ever recorded. The leak, which comes from a law firm based in Panama, contained 2.6 terabytes of data and over 11 million files implicating world leaders, political figures, and a number of people from the sports world. FIFA President Gianni Infantino, who has been mentioned in the leak, released a statement denying involvement with companies implicated in the Panama leaks, shortly after it was said that the leaks showed contracts co-signed by Infantino in his role as Director of Legal Service at UEFA with an Argentine firm that bought TV rights for European continental competitions. Lionel Messi and his father were among sporting figures whose name also appears in the documents attached to the company called Megastar Enterprise. The Argentine footballer has already faced an investigation into his financial dealings in Spain alongside his father George Messi, and they are set to stand trial in May of this year of defrauding the Spanish state of 4.2 million euros, and that is equivalent to $4.5 million US. While holding money in offshore companies is not illegal, Messi has been accused of creating a company with the aim of evading tax. The leaks implicates Michel Platini, a former French soccer great and a key figure in the 2015 FIFA scandal that relied on Mossack Fonseca to help him administer an offshore company created in Panama in 2007, the same year that he was named the president of UEFA, the European Soccer Association. Former FIFA Secretary General Jerome Valcke also appeared in the leaked documents, with the Frenchman listed as the owner of the British Virgin Island company called Umblina SA. Moses Wahesi, KTN Sports.
On the big question tonight, we are asking you, do you support President Uhuru Kenyatta's plans to lead a Thanksgiving rally at the Afra Stadium in Nakuru for Ruto and Sang? Very quickly, to some of your views, your tweets and SMSs, John Mutua says, yes, it's a golden opportunity for them to unite Kenyans. Issa Hassan says, no, it's inhuman to celebrate for only two individuals, leaving the victims in a bad situation. Cyrus Mwaniki says, yes, Uhuru and Ruto must keep their promise of uniting Kenyans. We will be watching keenly. Amos Kitui says Thanksgiving is an issue. We have other important matters to attend to. Cyrus Solomon Amboku says, not wise as head of state. What is he praying for? What he says is celebrating when 1,300 died and 600,000 were displaced. Boniface Stonebank says, I do support, we need reconciliation in our country and peace. Mbore Ajichare finally says, I think it's inappropriate considering no prayer rally has ever been held for the victims and their families. Thanks for participating in our big question discussion, for your tweets and SMSs. On KTN News, Kenya's premier 24-hour news channel. After this, Sophia Onono will be joining you live from our Nairobi City Center studios with the last word. Be sure to stand by for that on KTN Home. It is Jeff Koinange live. The guest tonight is William Ruto's defense lawyer at the ICC, Karim Khan. Thanks for watching KTN Prime. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.